Okay, we are live. Welcome everybody. We try to do this every week. To starting next week, we are going to change the timing. Rajiv ji is our immigration lawyer. We try to answer all of your immigration session, and starting next week, we are going to do on Saturdays, 9 a.m. Eastern time. So
So if you're on the West Coast, be up at 6 o'clock. You
yes.
can do that one day at least. That's fine.
Yeah. I mean, otherwise, Rajiv ji charges like $1,000 per hour. So
880.
880. Well, right. And then for people who are in India, it's like 6:30 your time. So if you
Yeah,
want to
that
join.
works right.
Cool. All right, Rajiv ji, let's go. There's so many questions I got. I should have like collected those questions, but let's start with anything from H-1B, second lottery, third lottery. Any new
Well,
updates? Any questions you've
so
been getting?
couple of things. Three things I think we should cover. First of all, would there be a third lottery?
There we go.
Harsh,
Yeah.
you are a mind reader, my friend. So, yeah, so the answer is I do not know because the criteria that apply to the first lottery also apply to the second lottery, right?
Yeah.
But the question is it at the same level of hesitation to file for the third lottery, for the second H-1B as it is for the first one? Because the reason the first one was so poorly represented in
Hmm.
terms of applications is because people were hesitant. They had multiple entries. Now, are all those multiple entries already eliminated? And I think not. I'll tell you why.
Hmm.
Because the trigger for a denial or a notice of intent to deny seems to be when you actually apply. So when you actually apply, otherwise, they're not scanning for multiple entries until you actually
Oh,
apply.
that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the pattern I've seen. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's the pattern I've seen
Hmm.
from our own
Hmm.
cases. So
Yeah.
if that is the pattern, then the logic that caused very few applications to be filed also applies to the second lottery. So we very well could have a third lottery.
Hmm.
That's the
Hmm.
second question people asked me was this was yesterday in our community conference. Somebody asked me, by the way, I am now doing quick chats also whenever I get some time because I realized it's
You can do
impossible.
audio.
Hello?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you
Okay.
hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I realized that I sometimes I think we need to do more calls rather than longer calls.
Hmm.
So therefore, I've started doing some quick chats whenever I have some time, half an hour. I just go on LinkedIn, do a LinkedIn audio. So going back to last yesterday's conversation, somebody said, "Well, I want to stay on my OPT till October 16th. I won the second lottery, but I want to stay on my own OPT till October 16th, and then I want to join the new employer."
Hmm.
So I said, well, that shouldn't be a problem as long as your selection date is after October 1st, on or after October 1st. That's the date you want to start your H-1B. And as long as the date is not more than 6 months ahead of time. So
Hmm.
if you apply, let's say in August, you can apply 6 months ahead of time.
Hmm.
So that was
Hmm.
second thing that came up. Third thing, again, I have multiple entries in lottery. Should I apply? Should I not apply? And the answer is if the companies were completely unrelated, the projects are unrelated, it's absolutely legal to have multiple entries. But
Yeah.
if there is any kind of collusion or the same company is applying through other companies, not a good thing. Stay away from that.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that was pretty much it.
Got it. And there was, I think this is to your point too, which is if someone got picked in the lottery, but this is their first year of OPT, and they want to continue using their entire 3 years of OPT, and then do their H-1B. Is that something they can do?
Yeah, what I would do in that case is, and this is not a tried and tested method for the simple reason there are arguments against this working. But you could, instead of asking for a change of status from F1 to H1, you could just say, I will get my visa stamping done. Don't change my status. So that
Hmm.
means now I am in charge. I'm in control of when I apply for my visa and convert to H-1B. You can actually convert within USA also. You don't have to go
Hmm.
for visa stamping. So that's one way to extend your OPT. But you know what? I would not play games with it. You've gotten rid of the darn lottery problem. Stick with that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's my recommendation.
Yeah. Another interesting question I had gotten. I think we get like the same people. They just try to reach out to me and then they reach out to you.
No, there
but
is a limited number of questions. That
yeah,
it's
yeah,
the same
right.
100 questions being asked over and over again.
Yeah, yeah. So this person had an interesting question that they got H-1B, and they want to they want to move to F1 because they want to do their masters or something, and then they're like, I'm not going to use my entire time of H-1B of 3 years. So what happens to the remaining 2 years? Can I, after
Yeah,
F1, can I use that?
that gets banked. So you only pay for it's pay as you go. So if you were in the USA only for let's say 3 months on H1B, then you convert it to F1, then that's only the 3 months gets deducted. So
Hmm.
the remaining 5 year 9 months is still banked for you. You can use it anytime over the next 6 years. Okay,
Hmm.
maybe more. So then another issue was, so this is another issue. So I have my H1B, but my company says work from India or work from
Hmm.
Canada. These were two different questions, but
Yeah.
same idea. And my salary will continue to be paid in USA. Number
Hmm.
one, can I do that? Sure, as long as you're authorized to work in the country that you're working from. So if you're a Canadian citizen and you work from Canada, perfectly okay.
Yeah.
You just have to figure out the tax angles. Immigration law doesn't care. Number two, am I losing my H-1B time? No, because you are not really in the United States. You have to be physically in the US to exhaust your H-1B time. So if you worked
Hmm.
there 3 months and then you went to Canada for 5 years and worked there 5 years, still getting your H-1B salary, you still have 5 years, 9 months left.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. So how does that like do? So how does that work? Like if someone has H-1B, they transfer it to F1. Do they tell USCIS that all right, hold on to my H-1B? Or
No. So what happens is it's like a counter.
okay,
So I was just discussing today. Recurrence with somebody in coding. When you do recurrence, you got to have a base value, otherwise the
yeah, yeah,
recurrent
yeah.
code just keeps
Right.
on. So there is a counter here, and the counter is your change of status. The moment your change of status is granted, you go from H1 to F1, your counter for H1B stops ticking.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
that means whatever time is left over, that becomes yours to use later on.
Hmm. Okay, got it.
So it's not
Hmm.
like you have to call the government and say, can you please bank my H1B? That doesn't work.
Right, right. Okay. People, Pratima, we just covered in the very beginning of the live stream.
Yeah, that was the first. Maybe the answer is maybe.
Yeah, there's like many question on third lottery.
Maybe.
So
Here,
yeah.
same answer.
All right. So this is an interesting one. I don't know. Is there a green card backlog
No,
for Sri Lanka?
no,
Okay.
no, because so again, let me back that up. Employment based is different, family based is different.
Hmm.
So there are two kinds of countries, those that are backed up, and then they call rest of the world. Rest of the world is everybody, UK, France, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Pakistan, Bangladesh. That's all rest of the world. So you guys are whatever the world is going through, you are going through. But India, Mexico, China, these are Philippines, these are countries that are always backed up.
Hmm. Okay. Similar, like
Mexico,
another country. I'm F1 student in USA, born in Middle. Sorry, in USA, born in Middle East. Want to apply
oh,
for green card. Uh,
Habibi, that's an impossible question to answer because that's like saying, doctor, how many ways can I fall sick, and how many ways can I be cured? It depends upon the disease. It depends upon what we do. National interest waiver. If you are from the Middle East, hopefully you have a lot of money. You can think about investment-based
EB5.
options. And if you are one of those very rare people who's not willing to spend the money, then you can look at employment based options like everybody else. The good thing
Mm.
about employment based options for people from the Middle East would be, because you are rest of the world, it will be a lot quicker for you than
Mm.
many of the other people. So it's either employment based or family based. Third is investment based. Of course, there's the fourth one, which is entrepreneurship. But it's difficult to Zaid, it's difficult to talk about this without knowing the exact context.
Yeah.
So
All right. If my wife is in USA on F2 visa and then she went to India for F1 visa interview, and if denied, then will F2 still remain active?
well, the answer to that is theoretically yes, because F2 can be applied again. Or if they, the way it works is, theoretically at least, when you go apply for an F1 visa, they should first cancel the F2 visa, then consider the F1 visa. As a practical matter, they don't usually do that. So
Mm.
chances are, when you walk out there, it is an F1 visa denial and your F2 is still okay. Okay. Now, what if the F2 is denied, F1 is denied, and the F2 has been cancelled, and now you say, give me my F2 back? They say, nope. The same reason, 214B, for which we denied your F1, is now also applicable to your F2. So now you can't
Mm.
go back. So can you go back on
Mm.
H4? Absolutely. That's a different bird altogether.
Mm. That's interesting. Um, I think you may have already explained this, but I don't know if you have want to add anything to this. Counselor process.
No,
When will the?
it won't extend your time of stay, Harshi. I don't know what you mean by that. But what some people want to do is they want to continue on. So one example I'll give you. So this lady that I talked to, was it a guy? I talked with yesterday was it was a guy. So he was, no, it was a lady. The guy was a different case. It's just I kind of trying to remember what she said. So she said she wanted to finish up the project she was working on that would take her till the 18th of October or 16th of October. Then
Mm.
she wanted to join the other company which was doing her H-1B. Okay.
Mm.
So therefore, for her, it was important to extend the date and not start H-1B right away. Now, there are two ways to do that. One way is to ask for a change of status up to 6 months further in the future. And the second is to say, don't give me change of status. Approve my case, I'll go get visa stamping. So that's how you're extending your H-1B time, but it's not really extending. You are postponing the beginning of your H-1B.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Cool. If I-140 is approved and spent 180 days with the same employer, now want to move to India for a couple of years and come back when priority date is current, is that possible?
Yes, absolutely. Your priority date is yours the moment your I-140 is approved. So that's no issue at all.
Mm.
Now, on top of that, because your I-140 stayed approved for 180 days, you can also extend your H-1B beyond 6 years with any employer, no matter how long you were outside US.
Hmm. Yes, but is L1 period counter is counted
Yes,
with H1B? Wait,
yes.
can you explain the question? Yeah, I mean, I didn't even understand the question.
Yeah, so I came to the United States on an L1A or an L1B. Okay.
Yeah.
I was on L1 for 4 years.
Okay.
Now, if I convert to H1B, how much time do I have left? 2 years.
Oh, why and why is that 2 years? Because
L1 and H1 are counted together towards each other.
okay, got it. All right,
So,
interesting. So people who did multiple registration, are they getting NOIDs, RFEs, or approvals? My lottery got picked, but I did multiple registration, so I'm thinking to apply or not.
so they are getting notices of intent to deny. Um, the questions I ask typically, and these are the questions you should ask yourself, are these companies related in any way to each other? Any of your registrants. So if you did through A, B, C, D, and E, A, B, and C are connected to each other, your whole year is messed up.
Hmm.
You can't apply at all. Okay. If you do you could be in trouble. But let's say you applied through A, B, C, D, and E, none of them are connected to each other. Then if you apply through three of them, is that okay? Sure, absolutely.
Hmm. Hmm. This is an interesting one. I have received my H-1B, but I don't plan on traveling to India or living the USA. Can my employer still renew my
Yeah,
H-1B even
yeah,
though I've obtained
yeah.
H-1B since inside?
Zahan, as long as you got your a change of status, you got your I-94 with the H-1B approval, you're good. Visa stamp is
I-94.
not required. If you stay within the US, you can keep extending as long as your status was adjusted, changed.
Okay, got it. And did you say I-94 or I-797?
I-94. So
Hmm.
I-797 is the approval. At the
Hmm.
bottom of the I-79, and there is a strip which is the I-94.
Hmm. Okay, got it. All right. If change status to H1 to F1, can we apply for OPT after
Yeah,
masters?
yeah, you have to be in F1 for 2 full semesters, 1 academic
Yeah,
year.
yeah. Unless they have
Yeah,
already used
there is
up.
an exemption to it somewhere. I don't remember exactly what it is. The
Yeah.
exemption was, I think, if you have been going to school full time and then you convert to F1, you don't have to have had F1 for full academic year, something like that. Double check that, but 1 academic year is the normal requirement. There may be an
Hmm.
exemption. Double check with the DSO.
Is my video stuck? Looks
Yeah,
like
you
maybe.
kind of get stuck every now and then. It's almost like you are
Oh,
posing, poser.
really? Oh, maybe my internet suck. Please
No,
send
all
Google
that
the
beauty
fiber
cannot be. All that beauty is not being digested by the stream.
internet. Uh, Maybe you should send the fiber optics over here, please,
Yeah, I know,
in
man.
my
It's
area.
such a blessing. 1 gigabyte connection, beautiful.
I am so jealous.
Yeah, I know.
All right, that was a career question. All right, I got selected in the H-1B second round. Can I
Yeah,
still?
absolutely. Go for it.
What's diversity immigrant visa program?
DB1 visas, these are for certain countries that are typically underrepresented. India is definitely not one of them. Um, most of the European countries, I think Nepal is included. Bangladesh is also, I think, included. So
Hmm.
countries that are underrepresented, they just go through a random lottery for green cards.
Mm, okay. Got selected in the first lottery with one employer. Petition submitted. Second lottery
No
selected
problem.
with other employer.
As long as there is no collusion, no connection, no problem. No collusion, no connection, no problem.
Yeah. Second round winners for lottery. H-1B gets active. Is it October?
As soon as they get approved. So because it can't be before October 1st, but as long as it is October 1st or later, any day that it gets approved, whenever you asked
Hmm.
for it.
Hmm. What happens in that scenario where they have completed their OPT and their H-1B selected, but there's a gap? Like OPT ended like maybe June, and now they're just waiting.
Um, you have 60-day grace period. If you are
Okay.
going beyond 60 days, then anybody's guess. I know cases where USCIS approved the H-1B, no questions asked.
Hmm.
Technically, it should not be approved because there is a gap. So,
Hmm. Okay.
but here is another thing. If your OPT expires on or after October 1st, you may be able to stay but not work no matter how much time it takes. It's quite complicated. There are many things we have to consider.
Yeah.
So generic answer is difficult. I mean, I know the answer, but it's difficult to explain. So normally, if there's a gap, it's a problem, unless your current legal status, OPT or OPT plus 60 days, ends on or after October 1st. Then you're
Hmm. Hmm. All right. Can I apply travel as an Indian F1 PhD student with an approved EB2?
uh,
Yeah.
Mr. Nair, that's a difficult guess for me to make, but I'll tell you this. I know, not today, but 4 or 5 years ago, we had a bunch of students who because they wanted to get into MBA actually went back to student visa, despite some of them even had 485 spending, more than I-140. And the government was quite indulgent. They got visas from all over, from Canada, from India. They even got change of status. So I can hope that government would be tolerant of it. But if you don't want to take a chance, finish your PhD first, and then you can adventure.
Hmm.
Because if you don't get a student visa,
Hmm.
at least you got your PhD covered.
Nice. I'm applying for, I'm studying data science. Can I work as a software engineer
Yeah,
while
see,
on
it
OPT?
depends because data science, it depends upon the kind of courses you took. So there are certain things in data science that look a lot like software engineer where you are coding. So if you're writing Python code or R or whatever you are using, and for example, let's say you are creating automated data streams, um,
Hmm.
things like Kafka and all, and you're doing a lot of programming, even containerization because you're writing some scripts for the containerization. So some of these things can go as a software developer, yes. But if you are a pure data science guy, you could be a statistician. So data science can also be a part of statistics. Data
Hmm.
science can also be a part of mathematics. Data science can
Yep.
be a part of information systems. So it's so many different things. Depends upon what the job description is.
Hmm. Can I go from F1 OPT straight to employment based green card,
Well,
assuming we have no backlog?
absolutely. You want to Google my name, Rajiv S. Khanna, Economic Times, and there's an article I wrote on this exact issue.
Hmm. By mistakenly, I shared my SSN and date of birth by consultancies, which claim to provide employment, but later realized they are not genuine. What can I? They won't
Well, what
misuse.
you should do is this is not my field. You should talk to somebody who does credit protection. But typically, I had my identity stolen many years ago. And the first thing I did was I called the three credit agencies and I put credit watch on my account. That's the first thing I did. Then I also got a police report done that my credentials have been exposed. So for 10 years, I was on a credit watch. Nobody could take credit without calling me first on my cell phone. So even if I
Hmm.
apply for credit, they have to call me on my cell phone first.
And, and so, did you just call TransUnion, Experian,
Yeah, yeah. Experian and what is the third one?
Equifax?
Equifax. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, that's a pay already. I'm not sure why Kiran is saying that he needs to pay thousand
I need to
dollars,
pay
but
1,000. Yes, absolutely. No, Kiran, no, you don't. Most of our calls are 15 minutes anyway. It's called calls a couple of $100 when you consult with me. So
yeah.
uh,
Or maybe he's asking. Maybe he said a question and I didn't pick up. And
just go ahead and ask
yeah,
your question. We're not charging anybody anything. What are you
yeah.
talking about? People like this does not want causing trouble to genuine ones who have a proper offer. Well, Krishna, you can't blame anybody for you don't know how many loans they have taken, and they think this is the only option they have. So everybody has their own problems. I'm
Mm,
sure that nobody wants to buck the system without some good reason. I certainly hope so. But you have your point of view. You are right too. Not fair.
mm. How many days after graduation, 20th December, can I live in USA without job?
60 days typically.
Right. And unless they have applied for OPT.
Of course. I mean, it depends. It doesn't look like they want to. It looks like he just wants to pack up and leave.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You can also apply for a
Uh,
B1, B2 within the 60 days, and that way you can stay
and
for 4, 5, 6 months more.
mm, yeah. What's the approximately current processing time for I-140?
Go to any of the search engines, type USCIS processing times. You'll have to select which center your case is pending in.
Hmm. This is a follow up. So, oh, there. Okay, there we go. Me and my fiance are on STEM OPT. We're planning to visit India in February 2024 for our wedding. Her F1 expires July 2024 and mine in October. can we travel and come back without any issue at POE? What is POE?
port of entry.
Point of port of entry. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
And then follow up is this that my fiance job contract ends on 29th February 2024, and we are planning to fly back 25th.
yeah, I think this is problematic because Customs and Border Protection can make an issue. Technically, you're entitled to enter, but they can make an issue. Are you coming in just for 4 days? Is that the plan? I mean, what's going on here? So they'll
Hmm.
complicate it. Make sure you plan it properly.
Hmm. I like this.
Any anti-aging secrets, Mr. Rajiv? Don't do anything that you don't feel like doing. Never.
Wow, that's some wisdom from you.
Whatever you do, do with complete joy, complete commitment.
I love it. I'm just processing that still, but
Yeah,
that's
I,
awesome.
I refuse to work with clients I don't like, no matter how big the client is.
Yeah, and you get to pick, right? Like if you want to
Well,
work or not. It's
that's not even the point. The point is, if I don't have that sense of friendship or that sense of goodwill towards the client, I can never do a good job. It's a very,
mm, mm,
it has to feel like I want to win this case and I want to do my very best. And the team like
mm,
has to feel like that too.
mm,
Somebody hired us yesterday, a company, and we were talking about the approach. And he said, "Well, we have a very bad experience with this law firm." I said, "Every law firm's culture is different. So some law firms are very, they're very bureaucratic. Everything is done a certain way. Um, we are very quality conscious, but we like to talk to people, connect with people. I may not have
mm.
time, but the team does. So people who work
Yeah,
with your case manager, then their supervisor, then me, and then other lawyers in the firm. So there's a different culture. And the bottom
yeah,
line is, I have been very fortunate. I don't have to do things that I don't like to do.
yeah. I wish so many people did that because so many of us do things which they don't really enjoy.
But there are two aspects to this.
Mm,
When you become mature enough, you begin to ask yourself, what is this thing called enjoyment? What is it?
mm.
When you enjoy something, you are completely engrossed in it. So
Correct.
it is the focus that determines enjoyment. The more focused you are, to the exclusion of all other distractions. So the question is, can you create enjoyment? Some of it is yes, you can. You can actually create enjoyment. You can find ways to make it work for you. Okay.
Mm.
But should you have to do it? For example, if you ask me to sell cars and become a used car salesman, I would be useless. That's not my thing. I can't lie to people. I can't say, "Oh, this is a great deal. Take it." I don't want to.
Right, right.
So,
Yeah.
in fact, we had a client in California, another corporate client. It said, "Well, we've talked to other law firms and they are saying this." And I said, "Sir, I'm not a salesman. This is what we do. This is what we've been doing for 33 years. This is all we do. If you like what you see, great. If not, I'm not going to sell myself. That's not my job." They hired us.
Mm.
Yeah,
Nice.
because that's the truth. I mean, I really don't have time for that nonsense.
Yeah,
We know what we
yeah.
are doing. We do it well. We are very careful. We still make mistakes no matter what we do. But that doesn't
Mm.
mean we don't care. It hurts. When we lose a
Mm.
case, it bothers us. When we win a case, it feels good. So we want to feel good most of the time.
Yes, yes. Love it. Some stoicism over there.
Stoicism combined with passion, because
Yeah.
Stoics can be very blasé
Dark.
about things. Like I don't
Yeah.
really care. Okay, but I love
Yeah.
the story
Yeah.
about a Stoic general. I'm a big fan of Stoicism, by the way. There's a Stoic general, and he's going into this big battle, right? And a person who's not a Stoic asks him. He says, "General, so you're going for this big battle?" He says, "Yes." He says, "Well, how do you feel? What are you going to do? Battle starts in an hour." He said, "Well, this will be a battle today. I will either live or I will die. But right now, I'm going to go have my lunch." So that is the Stoic way of living, which is very
Yeah.
matter of fact. You deal with things as they arise, and you don't
Yep.
bitch and complain. Why me? Why me? Why do I have to wait 15 years to get my green card? It is what it is, my friend.
Yeah.
So deal with it. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. All right. Follow up. I want to move out of USA once I-140 is approved after 180 days and want to come back after a couple of years once prior. What will happen to
you
H-1B?
still have it. You just ask for a renewal of the H-1B. Because you have the I-140 approved and 180-day it stayed approved, you can get H-1B extensions with any employer past 6 years as long as your dates are not current.
Hmm. Amol is asking, got picked up in second lottery of H-1B. If we file as change of status, my wife H-4 and EAD will be educated with
Well,
I.
okay, so let me caution you on that. Okay, I got picked up in second lottery of H-1B. If we file change of status, how would you do her H-4EAD? Amol, do you have a I-140 approved? So that may be this. There may be a logical issue here.
Hmm.
Unless you have an I-140 approved, she can't get an EAD.
Hmm. We'll wait for that
Yeah, I think
response.
I don't think he thought about that.
Hmm.
Haven't I seen this guy before, Mr.
Yeah,
Panjwani?
he's he does come. Can I study part time, full time for master's, PhD,
On H-1B,
master's?
yes. Oh, yes, absolutely. Happens all the time. My company allows after 6 months. What is the process? No, no, there is no change of status. So, Zahan, you're actually allowed to go to school while you're on H-1B. So, you don't have to do anything with your H-1B as long as you're not changing your working conditions. So, if you are working 40 hours and you continue working 40 hours and you do part time, um, you take courses or pursue a degree, perfectly fine. But if you're going to reduce your hours, let's say to 25 hours each week, then you should do an H-1B amendment. But you don't have to do anything on the school side. You're allowed to study while on H-1B.
Hmm. Okay. All right. Follow up question. So Amol did say, sir, before that, Amol did say he has
Ah, okay.
I-140
So
approved.
Amol, this is where the weirdness comes in. So government lost a case or not lost, settled a case. They said, okay, we'll revert back to our old practice. If you bundle H-1B along with H-4 and H-4 EAD, we will premium them all if you ask for H-1B premium processing. But my team is reporting, our team was talking about it day before yesterday. They said they're not doing that.
Hmm.
Sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't. So they're inconsistent. And I said, well, that's contempt of court because they entered that agreement into court. And one of my other colleagues was laughing. He says, well, then take it to court. I said, that's true. But going to court is the problem. Contempt of court is not. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, follow-up question. So if any company is related by any chance out of my multiple registration, and if I
you're
don't
screwed.
participate,
Next year, maybe not
and
an issue if you apply for only single registration or unrelated multiple registrations. Not an issue, probably. I
yeah,
don't think the government is going to go dig last year's record, but they could.
yeah, I mean it's should be really easy. But
If there is no big question coming up, I want to cover one thing that is important.
uh,
If somebody has
let's
something,
see.
it's
I
about multiple.
guess yeah, no, I think that's pretty much it. And
Okay.
yeah, I think we covered everything.
Okay. So there's a provision in the laws, guys, which is a permanent bar from entering the US. If you have committed fraud or misrepresentation in immigration proceedings of any kind. So the way the law reads is if you have ever committed fraud or misrepresentation to obtain an immigration benefit, now this is the important part, or attempt to obtain an immigration benefit. So even if you don't succeed, like a lottery, the fact that you did it is a permanent bar from entering the US.
Mm,
This is a pretty drastic thing. So would the
mhm,
government do it? I hope not, because I don't think this merits that kind of punishment. I
mm,
can understand if they say, you can't file lotteries this year, you're done. They have not pursued any individual for fraud or misrepresentation, as far as I know, so far, at least not to
yeah.
my knowledge. Okay. So I think
And so
next
you are referring this to like multiple
multiple.
H-1B filing because they are trying
Technically,
to
yeah,
obtain. Yeah.
technically, if you file next year and they say, "Oh, last year you did this, so now you have a permanent bar, you can never come back to USA, go away." They could do
Mm,
that, but is it really? Does the penalty fit the crime, to so to speak? I don't think so. So we'll see how it goes, but I think next year should certainly be safer than this year.
mm, mm. All right. Cool. On that note, we'll call it. So I have to go back to work. But thank you, Rajiv ji. Again, reminder next week we will do Saturday, 9
9
a.m.
a.m. in the morning. That sounds great. Perfect for me.
Yep. Cool.
Okay.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, Rajiv
Bye,
ji. Thank
guys.
you,
Take
everybody.
care.
Well, yep. Bye.